Welcome back, everyone. And if you're new here, hit subscribe now so you don't miss the full investigation we publish every day. A quiet afternoon in Ladbroke Grove, West London, on November 25, 2024, turned into a scene no parent should ever imagine. An 8-year-old girl and her 34-year-old father were sitting in their car when a rider, dressed as a Deliveroo courier, pulled up, raised a gun, and opened fire. 11 rounds struck the vehicle. The father hit 5 times, the child twice. Both rushed to hospital and miraculously survived. Police say the man in the delivery uniform rode an e-bike between attacks and later stood trial as Jazz Reed, 33, accused of carrying out a string of targeted shootings. At first, the case looked like a terrifying ambush, but what detectives found when they examined CCTV, phone records, and encrypted chat logs forced them to reframe the story entirely. What was written in those messages, and who else may have been involved, is what we'll uncover in this video. It was just after 2:30 p.m. on November 25, 2024, when a quiet street in Ladbroke Grove, West London, erupted into chaos. A man dressed in a Deliveroo-style jacket and helmet casually approached a parked car. Inside, a 34-year-old father and his 8-year-old daughter were preparing to head home from a family visit. Without a single word, the man drew a handgun from inside his delivery bag and fired 11 shots into the vehicle at point-blank range. Neighbors described the sound as like fireworks, but too close, too sharp. Emergency calls flooded the London Metropolitan Police Dispatch. "Shots fired, multiple victims. We need ambulances now," one caller screamed. The father was hit 5 times, slumping against the steering wheel. His little girl, struck twice in the back seat, cried out in confusion before losing consciousness. Police arrived within minutes, sealing off the block as paramedics performed emergency treatment in the street. Both victims were rushed to a trauma center, and against all odds, they survived. The community was left shaken. Parents clutched their children tighter. Doors were double-locked. A gunman disguised as a delivery driver had just opened fire in broad daylight, and he was still out there. But when detectives examined the scene more closely, one discovery changed the course of the investigation entirely. One of the shell casings found near the curb didn't match the others. And that single casing raised a terrifying question. Was this attack part of a larger pattern, or the work of more than one shooter? From the moment officers arrived on St. Mark's Road, it was clear this was no random shooting. The precision of the attack, the calm demeanor of the gunman, and the chilling disguise, all of it pointed to a planned, targeted hit. Detectives from the Metropolitan Police Specialist Crime Command immediately took charge. CCTV footage from nearby homes and businesses became the first crucial piece of evidence. On one clip, the suspect could be seen cycling up the road minutes before the shooting, wearing a bright turquoise delivery jacket, gloves, and a full-face helmet. He waited, watching. Then, as the victims approached their car, he walked casually toward them and unleashed a hail of bullets before fleeing on a black e-bike. But there was something else. A witness, a postman on his afternoon route, told police he'd seen a second man on the corner just moments before the shots rang out. Someone who seemed to be talking into an earpiece. Investigators began piecing together a timeline. The father, whose name police withheld for safety reasons, was believed to have no known enemies. Yet phone records revealed something disturbing. Multiple encrypted messages sent to his number in the weeks leading up to the shooting, all from unknown contacts. One simply read, "Time's up." Forensics deepened the mystery. Ballistics matched 10 of the shell casings to a single firearm used in a 2023 gang-related hit in East London. But the 11th casing, the one that didn't match, traced back to an unsolved shooting in Birmingham. "It's rare to see 2 different guns used in a single hit," one detective noted. "It suggests coordination, maybe even a team." And just when investigators thought they were chasing a lone gunman, new CCTV from a nearby petrol station revealed the most chilling clue yet. A white van, registered to a fake courier company, had been following the father's car for over 20 minutes before the attack. This wasn't a chance encounter, Detective Chief Inspector James Stevenson told reporters. This was a carefully orchestrated operation, and the shooter wasn't working alone. But the biggest break came when police traced the e-bike used in the escape. Its serial number, scratched but still visible, led them to a rented storage unit in Wembley. Inside, investigators found 2 more delivery jackets, a burner phone, and a set of printed photos. One of them was the father. But investigators soon discovered a clue that changed everything. Tucked beneath the photos was a handwritten list of names, 3 in total. The father's name was the first. 2 others remained unchecked. Someone was working through a list, and this was only the beginning. The storage unit clue led investigators deeper into a web of planning and intent. Through painstaking digital forensics, they traced the burner phone's activity. It had connected to a series of encrypted messaging groups hosted on Telegram, often used by organized crime networks across the UK and Europe. The messages were chillingly methodical. Instructions, surveillance photos, even payment confirmations in cryptocurrency. But one username appeared repeatedly: Courier King 88. It took weeks of covert surveillance and metadata tracing before detectives finally identified the man behind the alias: Luca Moretti, a 32-year-old Italian national with known ties to a London-based crime syndicate. Moretti had entered the UK under a false identity just 6 months earlier. He had no fixed address, no official employment records, but he was living like a ghost, moving from safe house to safe house, investigators said. Moretti's background painted a darker picture. Once a low-level enforcer for a mafia-linked gang in Milan, he'd been linked to 2 contract killings in Italy before disappearing in 2022. Interpol had a file on him, but no recent sightings, until now. Surveillance teams followed Moretti as he moved through London, always cautious, always watching his surroundings. He changed phones weekly, never used the same route twice, and frequently wore delivery uniforms from multiple courier companies, none of which had any record of employing him. When police finally raided a flat in Camden believed to be one of his safe houses, they found maps of the neighborhood where the shooting occurred, annotated with times, dates, and vehicle license plates. One page bore the chilling title, "Delivery Complete, Target 1." "It wasn't random," said DCI Stevenson. "This was a calculated hit." And the father, he was clearly the first name on that list. But Moretti wasn't acting alone. Phone records showed regular contact with an unidentified second party, traced to a foreign number registered in Naples, Italy. Investigators now believed they were dealing with an international hit-for-hire network, one that had infiltrated British soil with deadly precision. And then came the most unsettling revelation of all. The victim, the father, once worked for a logistics firm contracted to move high-value goods across Europe. One of those shipments, worth millions, had been hijacked 2 years earlier in a sophisticated robbery near Turin. The case had gone cold. Was this shooting revenge? A warning? Or the settling of an old score? And here's where the story takes a darker turn. During interrogations of known associates, police learned that the 8-year-old girl, now recovering in hospital, was never meant to be harmed. The order, as written in one of the decrypted messages, was clear. Make him pay. Leave no witnesses, except the child. The implication was chilling. She wasn't collateral damage. She was meant to remember. And as detectives began piecing together the motive, one question grew louder than ever. Was this just a contract killing? Or part of a much bigger criminal message being delivered? The shooting sent shockwaves far beyond the quiet neighborhood where it happened. Within hours, the story dominated headlines across the UK and Europe. Gunman disguised as delivery driver opens fire on family. News vans lined the street. Police cordoned off several blocks, and a growing sense of unease rippled through the nation. At the hospital, crowds gathered with flowers and toys for 8-year-old Sofia Williams, the young girl who had survived the attack but would spend weeks in recovery. Her father, David Williams, remained in critical condition, fighting for his life after suffering 3 gunshot wounds to the chest. The Prime Minister addressed the incident directly, calling it a terrifying reminder of organized crime's reach. Calls for stricter courier regulations and enhanced background checks flooded Parliament. And across social media, the phrase "Jocker justice for Sofia" trended for weeks, as thousands demanded accountability. But as public anger grew, so did the finger-pointing. Critics questioned how someone like Luca Moretti, a man with a known criminal record and suspected mafia ties, could enter the country so easily. Others accused the Metropolitan Police of ignoring prior intelligence, pointing to an Interpol tip from mid-2023, warning that a hitman using delivery disguises was likely already in the UK. We had the name, we had the pattern, and yet a 4-year-old is clinging to life. How is that possible? One MP asked during a heated parliamentary hearing. The backlash didn't stop there. Family members spoke out publicly, their grief turning to fury. Emily Williams, Sofia's mother, told reporters outside the courthouse they knew he was dangerous. They knew he was here, and they still did nothing until he was standing on my doorstep with a gun. As the investigation deepened, the narrative shifted from tragedy to conspiracy. Online forums buzzed with theories. Was Moretti part of a larger European criminal network? Did corrupt officials help him enter the country? And most chilling of all, was David Williams targeted because of something he knew? Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies across Europe began collaborating more closely, fearing that this was not an isolated incident. A Europol task force quietly launched Operation Courier, designed to dismantle the network believed to be behind multiple contract killings across the continent. And just when it seemed the story was settling into familiar territory, victim, suspect, public outrage, investigators revealed something no one expected. Hidden deep within Moretti's encrypted phone was a list of 4 more names, each tied to logistics companies, each with a red circle drawn beside them. One of those names was still living just 15 miles from where the first shooting occurred. And that's when detectives realized this wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. What investigators uncovered next changed everything they thought they knew about the case. During a forensic sweep of Luca Moretti's encrypted phone and laptop, cybercrime specialists discovered something far more organized than a lone gunman's plan. Buried beneath layers of coded messages and hidden folders was a digital blueprint, one that appeared to outline a multi-target assassination plot across 3 countries, including the UK, Germany, and Italy. Each target was linked by a common thread. They were all former financial partners of a collapsed logistics firm believed to be a front for an Italian crime syndicate. David Williams, Sofia's father, wasn't just a random victim. He had previously worked as a security consultant for that very company and was allegedly cooperating with law enforcement in an ongoing money laundering investigation. This wasn't a burglary gone wrong. This was a calculated hit, one investigator stated during a press briefing. And the girl, she was collateral damage. Even more disturbing was what came next. Investigators traced several encrypted payments, totaling nearly $500,000, funneled through cryptocurrency wallets linked to a dark web contract-killing marketplace. The last payment was made 48 hours before the attack, and then came the most chilling discovery. A second courier outfit was reportedly en route to another listed target, a former accountant for the same criminal network in Berlin. German police were alerted just in time, arresting 2 men disguised as delivery drivers near the target's residence. Inside their van, 2 handguns, false IDs, and a printed address identical to the one on Moretti's hit list. The evidence suggested Luca was not working alone. He was part of a structured team, a network, and the Williams shooting was just the first domino, said Europol spokesperson Anya Ritter. The revelations reignited public outrage. What had initially been seen as a single act of violence was now understood to be part of a broader transnational assassination campaign, possibly orchestrated by remnants of the notorious 'Ndrangheta crime syndicate. And as prosecutors prepared new indictments, one final breadcrumb sent chills through the investigative team. A deleted draft message recovered from Moretti's phone contained just 7 words. "The driver is down, but the plan lives." And that's when investigators knew someone else was still out there, and the next target might already be in their sights. In the aftermath of the attack that left 8-year-old Sofia Williams fighting for her life and claimed the life of her father, David Williams, the echoes of that November morning continue to haunt an entire community and beyond. What started as a shocking act of violence on a quiet suburban street in North London has now been revealed as part of a sprawling web of organized crime, digital secrecy, and international conspiracy. The gunman, Luca Moretti, may have been the one who pulled the trigger, but investigators believe he was just one piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that may still be incomplete. For Sofia's family, the tragedy has rewritten the fabric of their lives. A little girl who once loved dancing in her living room is now learning to walk again, recovering from injuries no child should ever have to endure. Her story has sparked a nationwide debate over how criminals exploit everyday roles, like delivery drivers, to infiltrate homes, and whether intelligence agencies are truly equipped to detect threats that hide in plain sight. Across the UK, lawmakers have called for tougher screening and tighter regulations on delivery platforms. Cybersecurity experts are urging stronger surveillance of the dark web and cryptocurrency networks that make contract killings harder to trace. And families everywhere are asking the same chilling question: how many other plots like this are still unfolding without anyone knowing? "It's not just about one man with a gun," said Inspector Rachel Hanley during the final press briefing. "It's about an entire system that allowed this to happen, and if we don't close the gaps, it will happen again." This case has become a stark reminder that the line between ordinary life and unimaginable danger is thinner than we think. And in the shadows of that truth, one haunting question lingers. Was Luca Moretti truly the end of this story, or merely the beginning of something far bigger? And now we want to hear from you, the people who follow these cases as closely as investigators do. Do you believe Luca Moretti acted entirely on his own? Or was he just a pawn in a much bigger operation still unfolding behind closed doors? Leave your theory in the comments below. We read every single one. Your perspective could shed light on a detail that's been overlooked or a connection investigators might have missed. If you're passionate about uncovering the untold truths behind real-life crime stories like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. At Crime Scene 24/7, we release new, deeply researched true crime documentaries every single day, and each one peels back another layer of the hidden world most people never see. Because here, the investigations never stop and the truth never sleeps.